Welcome back to class, everybody. Back to this Weebology world. I am one of the hosts, Ethan.
And I am the other, finally mobile host again, Ricky.
Yeah, you haven't had a car for a while.
I haven't.
It's been a bit of an inconvenience.
For lack of a better term, it's the old one's, dead.
In car heaven.
Yes, but now I have a new car. I came over to the lab with it, and without knowing he would do so, he jumped in the back of the car and screamed, "Sweet ride, dude!" And I was like, whoa.
Which is weird, because it's a Ferrari, so there's no back, right?
I know, he jumped into the trunk and then peeked out.
Which is the engine bay.
Right, which is so weird that you fit in there.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't know how you did it, but you peeked out of the back and you're just like, whoa, sick
I
ride,
guess,
dude.
All that being said, we just really want to thank you patrons.
It really is what got me my down payment and will pay going forward,
Yeah.
I know we're working on the whole merch situation, but you boys need a ride. He needs some wheels.
A Ferrari. He needed one.
He needs his wheels, and I had to get to the lab ASAP. Now I can get here in 3 minutes flat.
And he lives 400 miles away.
3 minutes, I said.
Yeah.
So against the law. So awful.
He bought a Hyperloop.
I did. I bought a Hyperloop and put a Ferrari in it.
Of course.
And I built it right up to the lab.
It's
now
the
the
only way
lab
to do this.
has a Hyperloop, so I can get here ASAP.
Seems only right and just.
Ethan's just like, I'm feeling like, got a wild hair up my ass today. Let's record some shit. I'll be there in literally 3 minutes from statewide away.
He actually lives in Japan now.
Yeah, but the Hyperloop goes under the water.
It goes under the land.
It goes under everything. It's in the magma.
It goes under the earth to the mantle. Kisses upon the core every now and then.
No one owns shit under the crust.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate, baby. And we're building Hyperloops on it.
Of course.
Can you tell we have nothing to talk about?
No, I'm just like cards on the table. Very amped on coffee today.
I think so as well. I had more caffeine than I normally do, and we've talked about in the sidebar how I have arguably, a not okay caffeine addiction. So to have more than my usual is already probably bad for my heart, my liver, my kidneys, my duodenum, and everything in between.
Well, it depends on which caffeine you ingested.
You got me on the pills, the little capsules now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's all I'm taking now.
You've taken my advice.
I have, and my goodness, those things are not...
Yeah, they fucking kick.
They kick. They're huge, and I'm just like, okay, yeah.
It's not that bad, though, because you drink water with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I hope you do.
I just neck it. Just down it.
Oh, no.
Down it dry.
Down the gullet.
I don't got it near my bed. I need it first thing when I wake up.
Okay, that's...
Literally.
I don't think you're getting the...
I get my 40 winks. On wink 41, give me the tablets. Give me the capsules.
Wow.
And I just neck them dry.
I feel like I might have ruined your life.
I don't know. You may have. Let me hit you in a couple weeks, and I'm racing through topics. I'll actually get the ending plugs down to 15 seconds for all of them.
I'm down with that.
Are you?
Yeah, it's fine then. Yeah, keep slamming the pills. If it helps me, what do I care?
Yeah, if it helps the pod plug faster,
yeah,
then we'll be okay. But yeah, we definitely hit the lab a little bit light in terms of what the fuck we're gonna talk about for the next 2 weeks, because we're doing a double sesh, and I walk into the lab and we're like, what are we gonna talk about? What do we do here?
Yeah, I'm writing a couple essays here, as per fucking usual, to be honest, but I just was so not in the mood to think about what we're going to talk about. So it was kind of like a situation where I'm like, dude, we'll figure it out. We'll
figure it out on the fly.
It'll be all right.
So for the next 2 weeks, it's going to get riffy. It's going to be loose.
It's also the first time in a couple weeks where we've just been the two of us.
It has been. That's
just
true.
Your profs in your earballs.
Just your profs. I mean, like I said, we have a thick and have had a very thick guest list, literally spanning the globe. And
at this point, yeah.
So we thought I'd bring it back. Real casual, real cozy. Training outside. It's a good. I'm gonna grab the blanket real quick.
Fair enough. We do have a couple more set up for the rest of this month, and then I got to get back on the old email grindstone and try to set up more collabs.
Yeah, if that one wide net the first time in 2021 set all this off, then yeah, let's go wide. get it wide. you
Yeah,
know?
and like we just got an email from a fan, which was great, who suggested more people for us to collab with. So if you do have other podcasts and stuff like that you want us to collab with, let us know in the email.
That'd be nice because that really kind of gives us an in for cross collaborations. If you have podcasts you
And
like,
a direction.
yeah, right, exactly. So if you have a podcast like I think you guys would vibe, that it's almost like an avenue I never considered until that fan emailed us. Right, I never thought in my mind like, oh, we can use them.
I've considered this.
I know you have.
Okay.
I know you have. But for
Just
me,
so you know.
for me, I didn't consider the idea of someone saying, "Hey, I like your vibe. It's similar to this other one I really like. Like, can you guys try to get together?" And that's amazing because then we can turn right to them and say like, "Hey, one of your fans told us we would vibe, and do you want to vibe? You want to vibe real quick?" And hopefully that like
I'm probably not going to start the email with, "Hey, do you want to vibe?"
Yeah, I think.
But,
so to other podcasts out there, if you get one from us that says, "Hey, you want to vibe?" That's because a fan said, we should vibe. We should vibe real quick.
Yeah.
It's grassroots, baby. That's all it is.
I mean, that's the only way to do this.
Speaking of doing this,
What's this?
we, as much as we said we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, we do have an idea of what we're talking about today on this episode. Next episode might be a little bit down the barrel.
Now we're fine.
This one we have enough juice to squeeze out of this episode. So over the last, I would say, 8-10 episodes, we've alluded to a show that we have been watching. It's been the talk of the town since we did our winter 2021 predictions. And we kind of knew this was coming. There's a lot of hype around the show. But if you have been listening to us for the last couple of weeks or several weeks even before that, you can kind of get that we're a little bit, reserved. We are boys of the space this show is a genre of, and we have our reservations. Those may be alleviating themselves as the second part of that first season continues into winter 2021, but
I mean, spit it out. Jesus Christ.
I'm giving them
a
a little bit of teasing.
I know.
Today we are talking about that Shonen Jump talk of the town for the last 2 seasons now, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
We're doing it. We're finally doing it. We're doing a little early than the end of the first season proper, but I think now is a better time than any to talk about it. It's in the mind's eye of every anime fan that likes a good fight, They love this show.
A good little scuffle.
I know. And it's that
soul scuffle,
and I know,
some would say.
I would say.
Yeah,
I would say that as well. So this scuffle starts because everyone and their grandma on the internet or otherwise are so unbelievably hype about this show. Did you have the same hype going into it from day one, from conception?
I was confident it would be good. I mean,
yeah,
I haven't heard of anyone that was said like it was bad from a manga standpoint.
Right.
Of course, I'm always reserved when it comes to like a manga that receives a lot of acclaim that goes to anime. You never really know.
Especially a Shonen Jump that slaps on the rankings, right?
Right.
It was up there with like Chainsaw Man or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
It's up there with that. So everyone is hype about this one, and it got its adaptation by, I want to say, dare I say, Mappa?
I think it is Mappa.
Is it really? Okay.
Pretty sure.
Man, again with the slappers, they ain't quitting in 2021. They really did us good in 2020, but they ain't letting up. We'll get the facts on that real quick.
Just so you guys know, do not search just JJK as a Google. It is.
Is that? Do I have to blur that on camera?
No, it's just not helpful.
it's just not helpful. But yeah, so again, if you aren't watching this show, which if you're a shonen fan, I'm actually shocked you aren't. But if you're not, and you need a little bit of push, inspiration, 10,000 feet while Ethan looks up the studio, we have something. Mappa. Mappa's out here doing it again.
Nappa.
Look at him.
I'm a Saiyan.
It's a Pokemon. Oh, Team 4-Star, how I miss you so much.
Same.
But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, 10,000 feet. You have demons. You have individuals with special powers that use similar energy to fight said demons. Very, shonen-esque, demon fighters and demons that are being fought, all things considered. And you have a boy, our main character, our typical MC protag, I would say, Yuji, who gets kind of caught up in quite the tizzy demon and demon sorcerer combat fight situation, which he kind of had no business being in the first place. He just kind of rushed in because he's our main character protag of any shonen.
Yeah, so him and his friends were in this like a cult club essentially.
That is so right. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
It's felt so long since
it
I
really has.
Yeah, right.
Like I honestly feel like this season, or this show specifically, it feels like it's spanned multi-years at this point.
Actually, at this point, it has.
Yeah, but like a full 365.
Like a full
each.
365 plus. I feel you. It honestly, I could barely remember the first couple episodes, and I want to talk about that later, but they were in an occult club.
Yeah. And they're basically, they accidentally unleash a like special grade curse upon their school.
Special grade, we find out later, is a pretty beefy curse.
Insanely beefy curse.
Unreal beefy. So they unleash this shit, and the school is just gone to shit when they release that stuff.
Yeah, and Yuji is an interesting person because he naturally is just like insanely physically gifted.
Gave me gone freeze.
Except more.
Vibes.
This guy
way even more. Yeah.
He like destroys a world record in the very first episode.
Right.
It was like over Olympic record shot put. He just like fucking launches this shot to the world.
Before we go any further,
he puts that shot. Gonzo.
That thing is like Midoriya using like
exactly
he literally Delaware smashes that sucker without one for all.
I mean, I was like, okay, is this gonna be My Hero Academia or something? Like
without the quirks, he just has super strength. Are you cool with that though? Yuji just having this strength. Have I seen it? I'm asking you, have you seen enough protagonists where this has become boring? All of these,
of course. I mean, I think that so. You know, I don't know how much we want to go like step by step through this whole thing, but, but I think we've kind of laid a little bit of a basic here, and then kind of what happens after this is we get introduced to Jujutsu Tech.
Yes,
which is a school that specializes in training Jujutsu sorcerers who fight curses with curse power, essentially.
Right.
And Yuji falls ass backwards into this world, essentially, just by being like a good lad. There's like
he's a good lad.
Well, I mean, like
he really is
he's a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
It just was kind of like a weird fucking way of making him like have this kind of like ideal, right? Like his grandpa,
yeah, right,
is alone and dying in the hospital and says, "Be a good guy, help people because you're so, special.
You're the best lad. You have to go help people with your strength, right?
Really, like you're an absolute fucking mad lad. Go help people." And he's like, "Okay."
Yes, grandpappy.
I mean, and it's kind of one of those situations where you'll have a main character who's like physically gifted or whatever, but like shows like no fear whatsoever. And this is where like I think I don't know. I'm struggling to figure out how we structure this episode to make it make sense, but I want to immediately compare it to other things.
And honestly, once we get to the pivotal moment of why Yuji is special, from then on, let's compare. Because this show, unabashedly, brazenly, is trying to go toe-to-toe as a seasonal with the greats of shonen. Like, You can feel that from the rip, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's coming from a story that is a highly rated Shonen Jump manga. That's not shocking. They're trying to gun for that level because I think there is a ceiling to be crossed, and once crossed, you're etched into shonen for good, forever. I mean, My Hero, I think, has maybe probably already done that, despite kind of getting lackluster lately, but they've done enough where I think, like, My Hero for years to come will be like, yeah, that's one of the good shonens. It's one of the great shonens.
Yeah, I think, My Hero is just very lighthearted and applicable to a lot of different demographics.
Right,
so I think it's gonna be up there no matter what. Also, the whole superhero thing I think is very applicable to like anyone that's seen superhero stuff.
Shit, anyone who's watched Marvel can relate to that shit.
What I would consider this more akin to is more like a Bleach, where it's darker, kind of like more serious topics being talked about.
Exactly. And speaking of serious topics, I mean, we get to the pivotal moment where, by some merit of the fight that Yuji falls ass backwards in between a Jujutsu sorcerer and the demon he's fighting, he consumes and takes in a special grade curse, the special grade curse that they had released with the Occult Club. And we get introduced to, up to this point, even without a lot of screen presence, my favorite character in this show so far, which is Sukuna, the demon special grade curse that is now inhabited inside of Yuji's body. That right there is the crux of the show, I think, because he is now not only fallen ass backwards into the world, he is now kind of a central... Sukuna, yeah. He's a pivotal figure because he houses one of the most powerful, and at this moment, maybe the most powerful curse known to that Jujutsu world at large. So he has a demon inside of him that he does not want letting out. If he does, he's unhinged, but also godlike powerful.
Yeah, he was heralded as the undisputed king of curses.
Undisputed. Fascinating use.
During the prime era of sorcery 1,000 years ago. And sorcerers gave their all to defeat him.
This is really off the dome. This is crazy.
After his death, his corpse was unable to fully be destroyed, and henceforth his remains of 20 fingers preserved in grave wax traversed the ages as cursed objects.
20 fingers. Fascinating.
Yeah, he's got like a bunch of weird...
He has like 4 eyes and 4 arms, I guess. That makes a lot of sense.
He's got like some weird shit going on.
He's got some weird shit going on. But yeah, so, Jujutsu Tech decides to take him in and says, shit, if we can't contain him if he goes unhinged, might as well train him up to be a good Jujutsu sorcerer, right? And that's really your thing. He goes to Jujutsu Tech. He gets involved with dealing with curses at certain grades. It has all the trimmings, right? It has rankings. It has power levels. It has, a magic or power system that is consistent. It feels tight in that, they outline the source of cursed energy is what they called it. They outline the things you can do with it, and they outline kind of its restrictions. You are making contracts. You're making deals with yourself to utilize cursed energy. It has all the trimmings of a really, really potent classic shonen. So, Ethan, I think it's important that we start with why were we hesitant? I mean, we are on record for saying it's kind of not getting our gander at times.
Yeah.
What for us, I guess, starting with, I can start, but shit. I mean, why aren't we not feeling it as much as everyone else?
I did feel it was extremely formulaic for the beginning of the show.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Like there was really no difference between like a bunch of other shows that we, enjoy.
Yeah. Right.
And where you would think, okay, you enjoyed all those shows, why don't you enjoy this one? I think it's just like a pacing thing. And like when something is so reductive that it's like there's really no newness to it, like curse energy, who gives a fuck? Like
sure,
spirit energy, you know what I mean? Like
we've seen it. Yu Yu Hakusho, literally, that's what that is, right?
Well,
demonic spiritual energy.
I mean, I'm going to compare this to Bleach a lot.
We are going to. I mean, that's kind of, this show is begging us to compare because it wants to be compared. I think that's what this show is trying to do. It's like, yeah, we're going up against the greats and we know it from day one. So if you are, prepare to be compared.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a case where it's extremely good looking, and people were allowing that to get to overwhelm like how weak the story was for the first half of the first season.
It did for me. Like I was overwhelmed by how good it was.
I think there was a lot of hype about it from like literally episode 2. And the question I always or that always comes to my mind is that because people know the manga is amazing and it's going somewhere? Or is it because this actually has separate merit on its own? And for me, at that point, which was like, I don't know, the first 12 episodes, essentially. I mean, some of them were really, really good. But,
sure, for sure.
But there was nothing really new to me. And I thought this has to be people saying, well, it's going to get really good. You know what I mean?
No.
Kind of thing.
And that happens with a lot of Shonen Jump and either other manga that are highly celebrated. I mean, was it Knox from Project Manga that even said that like he knew what was coming up in Black Clover and he was just hype about it for that reason, right? I imagine if he watched the manga for the first, not watched the manga, wow. watched the anime,
Which,
knowing,
by the way, last episode, holy fuck.
holy fuck. So good. But if you were to watch the first 35 episodes of Black Clover, celebrated for how annoying it literally is, I wonder if he'd be able to power through it more admirably than maybe you or I did. We did, but it was a grind. I wonder if he could grind through it better because he knew where it was going.
Yeah, I think, that's kind of like where I come from as far as spoilers go. Like, it doesn't bother me because when I know there's something that I really want to see, it propels me through some of the shittier parts of shows.
Interesting.
Like,
so you use spoilers as a hook of the future.
Essentially.
Like, you know what's coming, so you might as well hit it.
Like for instance, Fairy Tail. A lot of people have a lot of like negative things to say about Fairy Tail, but there's some really insanely cool things that happened that I'm like, had me foaming at the mouth thinking, I can't fucking wait till we get there.
You know what's funny? I feel the same way, and I'm going to get shit for it. Boruto. But it's not about Boruto or his generation. There are spoilers that I learned about Naruto and Sasuke and the powers they employ later in the series during the arc we just started. And I'm like, fucking yes, I want to see this. So I'm propelled through by knowing those spoilers from the manga. And I blame my timeline of my Google News because it knows I like anime and it'll spoil stuff for me. And I'm like, shit, well, guess I got to watch this all the way through.
I think people on Twitter need to realize not everyone reads manga or even YouTube, right? Like titles and thumbnails have destroyed me on a lot
My
of things.
Hero was ruined forever for me.
I mean, it's like
bad.
absolutely ridiculous. I think it's batshit crazy. The thing that the things that people will put in their title, or they'll be like, "Asta is a blank." I'm like, "Are you serious, dude?"
Yeah, thank you for
Jesus
that.
Christ! Imagine if I actually cared that much about spoilers. Like, I'd be like, I would stop watching anime altogether. Probably.
You can't at least not go on YouTube anymore,
right?
Yeah, right. You just kind of ignore.
Which I spend like a lot of hours a week on YouTube.
I spend a bad amount of time on YouTube. It's bad.
My like screen time the other day said I spent like 35 hours on YouTube last week.
That's about right.
To be fair, like I listen to things like Rain or whatever to go to sleep. So,
but counts. Count it.
Exactly.
YouTube counts it.
I'm hoping it counts.
Yeah. But I like what you said about the formulaic aspect of Jujutsu Kaisen from episode 1. Because
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Oops.
You like how I drug it back?
It's just so fucking boring. The first half was It
was but I mean, the formulaic aspect is part of that right? Think Yuji and Ichigo in their first episode call to action, right? They're both in peril. They both have an opportunity to be given a way out.
Both have orange hair.
Both have orangish hair. One, whether you're stabbed by Rukia to gain like Soul Reaper powers, or you are eating.
I guess he's not really orange. It's like a blonde.
It's like a strawberry blonde, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether you're stabbed by Rukia or you're swallowing a cursed finger, they both are doing something reckless, but also making the choice to find the way out that they have. Right. It took a amount of foolish bravery essentially to do what they did, right? The face of Megumi, who looked at him like, why the fuck did you just eat that?
Yeah.
And Ruki is shocked face, so you're really gonna let me stab you? Like, I know this is gonna be okay for you, but you're gonna let me do it anyway? There's like that foolhardiness that they kind of hammer you over the head, like, this character's dumb, but he's a good boy. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and just to continue the comparison, like, Ichigo was physically, like, very, very strong compared to, kids that are 15 years old, right? Like,
right.
I mean, his dad would attack him daily. And if you remember the very first episode, he kicks the shit out of 3 thugs that knocked over like a little tribute to a little girl. And he just like absolutely destroys those dudes.
Slaps them hard.
And, not very different from Yusuke, right? He's an absolute thug lord, beating the shit out of kids his age, easy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just think like it's definitely an interesting way to come at it. Like, he wasn't a delinquent. Like Yusuke looks like a delinquent, and so does Ichigo. But Yuji was kind of just like,
yes,
just like a fucking sports star, essentially.
Yeah, a sports star unrealized. He just wanted to learn about the occult. What was his reason for being in that club in the first
You just want to
place?
be friends.
You just
with
want to
those
be friends
guys.
with those folks, yeah. So I mean, he's a god on sports. He's literally an athletic god, which
I'm reading this and I honestly can't fucking believe it. He can finish a 50-meter track within 3 seconds. That can't be true.
that means he can do 100 meters in 6 seconds.
I mean, that's what it's saying.
Jesus
Assuming there's no drop.
Christ. Oh, not for him. You seen how he fights without cursed energy? Dude's a brick shithouse. He's a twiggy brick shithouse. Which, okay, maybe I've seen enough anime pro tags and shonen. I think I'm over.
All right, I gotta say this.
Okay.
This is actually insane. I'm getting an ad right now on my computer
What are you doing?
for a DiGiorno croissant crust.
Croissant?
And I'm losing my mind thinking about how good a croissant pizza would fucking taste.
Do they have a picture?
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Episode pause real quick. We're not actually going to pause. I'm just going to take a peek.
Well, it just went away.
No!
It's literally been sitting here for a while. Oh, man. All right. Sorry, y'all. I just
Damn
thought,
it.
wow, croissant pizza. Whoa.
It wouldn't be the first time an episode is interrupted by pizza.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's lore now.
It is now lore. Pizza can derail an entire episode, which is fine.
And why wouldn't?
Why wouldn't it? It's fucking pizza. Yeah. But yeah, I think maybe that was why people were kind of attracted to Midori as a main character in a shonen in the past. Like from the outset, because he was a twerp extraordinary. Like he was straight up grade A, USDA choice cut twerp. Like he was
Very Peter Parker-esque, right? Like
Yeah,
an
right.
absolute nerd loser.
right. Yeah.
Gets some random thing happens to him and then becomes strong.
Yes.
And I think that has a lot of wide scale appeal, right?
of course. Yeah.
I think Yuji's cool because of how cool he is, but you know, there's not a lot of Chads out there that can even think like, yeah, I'm pretty close to that, you know?
Yeah, the amount of times I've seen a protagonist that even we see it in Solo Leveling, right? Like he starts out as an E grade, but I mean, he basically yeah, I know.
I just love that fucking I just love it, man.
Yeah, I just love it. It's so good. But he starts out, the only thing I have going for me, I'm stronger than usual and I heal faster than usual, just from the outset. That alone, I felt the same way from that outset as I did from Yuji's introduction, is that you already baseline are equipped to be a main character, right? I want to see more main characters that have no equipment whatsoever, both internal or external, to be the protag, and yet they're wrapped up in it.
That's wild. I feel like they're very different because he's the weakest in his world. Like he's already awakened,
Sure.
but he's the weakest of the awakened, essentially. Yuji is just a random human that turns out to be like fucking Olympic level of everything.
Well, he's a random hunter. If you look at the pool of people they're involved in, he's just some random schmuck E grade. Like, it's nothing. He's nothing. Like, literally in the group, in the context.
Yeah, that's what
From
I'm
the
saying.
from the outset,
the worst.
he's nothing.
Yuji is the best of humanity.
Fair, but like if you look at all of humanity, him being a hunter already as a main character, what does he have that other humans don't? Oh, he's got better strength and better healing. That right there is like a golden situation that like better, and even Naruto, a little more strength, a little more healing. Like they're special even among the human populace as a whole. I know the reason why Solo Leveling doesn't feel this as much is because the other hunters exist. He's already in a special class of individual, but he's the bottom of said class. So that's that again appealing. Maybe why I am so literally full mast for Solo Leveling. So good. God
There's
damn
a
it.
lot of reasons.
So fucking good.
All right, this is now a Solo Leveling.
No, it's not. We
episode.
already had one of those. Go listen to that one. Go listen to that one with Eddie from Anime Compost. How's that?
Fair enough.
Little plug. But yeah, I just found the Yuji being like a literal athletic physical god a little unrealistic. I know these aren't meant to be real, but wasn't exactly compelling, right? He's already had such a leg up.
I think it could kind of, the only thing I could see it being additive is like as a reason why he ran into the building, because he already knows he's strong and fast, right?
For sure, right.
And so when his grandpa said help people with your abilities, maybe, you know, that's the only like real impetus for him running in to help his like friends, right? So like I guess I'm semi okay with that, but it's not a compelling thing to me, and I don't think is any different really than most other big shonen.
Sure. Right.
Like Naruto was a dweeb, but he had a lot of fucking chakra, you know? Like,
Yeah, right.
There's just like nothing really special about
Ichigo wasn't a dweeb because he literally had the birthright of every spiritual entity known.
that. Because he's a god.
Because he's an actual god. And Asta, again, bottom of the pecking order. That's why maybe I'm more compelled to Asta now that he stopped fucking screaming. But, you know, go listen to that other episode. I'm just plugging all of our own shit in the backlog. I don't got to explain myself. I already did. Go listen to that shit. But Asta, again, compelling. Bottom of the rack in the world he was born in, and is choosing to progress in different ways. Love that shit. So in for that. Midoriya, same way. Bottom of the rung, no quirk, gets a special, becomes non-twerp, becomes badass. Okay, here for it. Yuji already has such a leg up that it became uncompelling as a main character for me.
Yeah, and I think, you know, early on, a lot of the characters we see are not that interesting.
Yeah, right.
I mean, obviously, we see Gojo in episode 1, right? So that's hard to say, but he's the most interesting of any of these characters. He's like, you know, that guy that you want to know about.
He's the best.
But Megami
I love him
is
so
like
much.
so like, you know what I mean? Like even to this point in the show, I'm pretty like lukewarm on Megami.
Well, I actually am not. I think he has more than he lets on.
No shit. But
yeah, obviously.
Duh.
But all things considered, like all the side characters, I'm seeming to like a lot more than Yuji. A lot more. I love all the all the side characters.
Well, I think they've given them like actual personalities.
Yeah, isn't that
Yuji
cool?
really doesn't have one.
As a shonen
lucky douchebag.
As a shonen pro tag do, it's kind of the flavor you got to give them. But this show does excel at giving us characters that feel quite compelling. I mean, shit. Knowing what we know now, I think episode 16 came out yesterday at time of recording. Something like that.
I watched it. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. It's the group battle. But Panda. Fucking Panda. Let's talk about Panda, dude. I love Panda.
Yeah,
he's my boy. He is a sentient, cursed, basically, are we in spoiler town yet?
We're like 33 minutes in. I think every other character that is around Yuji is cooler than Yuji so far.
We're not going to go into spoiler town quite yet. But yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we learn more about the power system early on. The pacing of revealing what the power system can do and works within, that actually is a shining moment for me of this show. If you're looking for, I know we said initially curse energy, who gives a fuck? When they start talking about innate domains, and
that's the only thing cool about it. I think this is like very, very reductive. The way you use it is what's going to make this cool.
Innate domains essentially is a Bankai. That's all I'm saying. Literally.
It's like Tozen's Bankai, where he creates that darkness, you know, bubble, or like a devil fruit,
sure,
whatever it was, open no me from Water Law.
I'm gonna nod my head with that one. Yeah,
you get it.
Yeah, I get it. Totally get it. But yeah, in terms of being a next stage to a given power set, but also very dependent on the personality of the individual and their spirit and kind of things that are important to them, it feels like a Bankai. I think the best example would be that volcano demon that Gojo fights.
Yeah.
His Shikai, so to speak, would be, you know, the usage of fire and kind of teleporting fire in different spots and using, you know, fire remote familiars and stuff like that. And then his Bankai in this show, innate domains essentially is using your cursed energy to create a small localized.
That shit cursed.
Yeah, you're actually fucking cursed. Like a localized environment where the individual that cast it will have a 100% guarantee hit of their ultimate techniques. Like, you're in their space now. You're in their fucking world. Deal with it. And it's I like that because it adds at least a compelling layer. Reductive, sure, but it's borrowing from something that already works for me, right? It already worked. That's the Bankai aspect of the second stage of your power. That works for me, and I'm in for that. Because I want to see everyone's innate domain, right?
Yeah, I think it's a situation not unlike, well, a little bit unlike what Ichigo kind of dealt with. Is early in Bleach, you really only know about Shikais, really, because that's all that anyone's really using.
For sure, yeah.
Until the end of the Rukia retrieval arc, they drop a innate domain, so to speak.
Sure, yeah.
The Zenbonzakura Kageyoshi.
Oof, so good.
The problem that I have so far is they showed us innate domains in like episode 7. And it's going to take like 10 billion years for Yuji to get his. So it's
If
almost
ever.
like
Right.
they kind of blew the load a little early. And I'm you know, I love what they're doing with this battle with Kyoto, but I'm concerned that the pacing is going to be a struggle for me to get through. Of course, I know this is going to be a good show.
Right.
Because everyone has been like, I think at this point you can take what manga readers like their suggestions to heart, because most of these guys have read almost all shonens, or they you know what I mean? They know what's going on.
Sure.
They know when a show is going to smack.
We can see what's what. Right. Yeah.
It's just that through the first 12, I mean, there's some stuff near the end with Nanami, you know, another teacher that he kind of joins up with that is really cool and kind of like unique in its own right.
Right.
Finally.
Yeah.
But
Finally.
other than that, like the first half, boring as shit. And I think it's because Yuji feels like on such an island. Like, he doesn't feel like he really cares about Megumi that much. He doesn't feel like he cares about whatever the girl's name is.
And they try to make you feel like he does care, right?
Yeah.
With what's his face, the emo kid that eventually got fucked by the Stitch boy. I don't know, Yuta, something like that.
It is like that.
It's like Yuta. I'm gonna call him Yuta for now. But yeah, they really kind of force the narrative of Yuji being a really overly kind dude. Like the whole scene with him, Yuta, and Yuta's mom. I'm gonna keep using
Right.
Yuta. You give me something.
That is right.
Okay, cool. Him, Yuta, and Yuta's mom, they have this whole scene where he's like super chatty, and he's basically giving Yuta, a friendless dude, bullied very hard, a friend. And I don't know. I almost feel as if they didn't have to force that narrative. Again, comparison-wise, Hunter x Hunter. There are moments where they have real natural feeling moments where Gon is shown to be a overly trusting, kind of happy-go-lucky kid for the majority of the series, but none of those moments felt forced, right? It felt like naturally what Gon would do in those situations, whereas Yuji is given narratives and moments where it feels so like he already is a happy-go-lucky dude, but they force it narratively to shove it down your throat. Hey, this is what this main character is. And I think that's where the crux of my problem comes in with why I think this show at this moment is good, maybe arguably great. And I say that with apprehension, but it's obviously no shonen masterpiece, but something felt off. And I think the thing is,
I don't think his name is Yuta. So Yuta is a character that looks very similar to him, but I don't think that's actually him.
no way.
Yeah.
I did a skim of all the characters prior, so maybe I mixed them up with somebody else for sure. But it's kind of something we've been dancing around this entire episode about Jujutsu Kaisen, in that they showed you the quote-unquote Bankai at episode 7. They shoved even the narrative of Yuji being the happy-go-lucky, overly trusting main protagonist, shonen protag. They're shoving all of the tropes up front, laying it out very flat. Do I commend them for that, of being so transparent about what they're reducing and pulling from? Sure, a little bit, but they are doing too much too quick. Right? They're laying it all out there for you. It's kind of what you said. Pacing. That's going to be an issue.
His name was Junpei.
Junpei. That's it.
Yoshino.
I liked his story, though. Like, him being a bullied guy and curse energy coming from that. That makes sense.
Agree. And
Yeah.
I think even this is one of those situations where they try to make a villain do bad things and make you dislike them, but they did them for good reasons, or not good reasons, but like understandable reasons, in my
Sure.
opinion.
Sure.
Like him trying to fuck with that teacher who
Yeah.
like would constantly make excuses for the other students and not like stick up for his students. Like, whereas that's obviously bad, but I liked that you saw the progression for the teacher where later he's like, I'm not going to stay silent anymore, essentially.
Right.
They go back and they revisit, and he's like talking to the students saying like, yeah, this was partially my fault. I'm going to do it better.
Yeah. And again, good for the fucking teacher. Like, that's...
But I think like this is where the show is doing a good job. I would say in normal shonen, you're never going to get that scene where they go back and they show that this guy's learned something from what happened.
Because most shonens are so focused on either the individual MC or just that tight core, and they never go outside of that.
Right.
Jujutsu definitely does expansion outside of just that main Jujutsu tech core.
Well, I think it helps that there's only really 3 of our main guys.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like what I said, I feel as though Jujutsu Kaisen as a story has, like all shonens do, a full deck of tropes, right? To use at certain points in certain ways. I think of Black Clover, who I think are using some of these tropes very tactfully later in the game now. Like, they're doing training arcs very well. They're doing stakes very well now. They're doing power progression quite interestingly. Each kingdom, as it's alluded to in Black Clover, has a different method for drawing out the most power of their magic, and these warriors from Clover Kingdom are now, by sheer merit of the story's progression, are going to go to these kingdoms and learn how they operate. Jujutsu Kaisen, though, seems like they're playing everything and then they have nothing left in their deck, right? They're playing every single trope so early. Where do they go from here? And if they go somewhere banging, maybe that's what the manga folk are hoping. That they know that they have a whole new deck we haven't even seen. That they have some versions or something.
I would say
right?
it has to be something like that. I think it's similar to Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
You watch past the whole exam and everything, and you're like, wow, we've got a great show here. And then they're like, guess what, Nen?
Guess what,
what
bitch?
the fuck?
And then guess what, Greed Island? You want a little isekai? They shove the whole fucking isekai right in the middle of their shonen show. And you're like, what? That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, so I mean, they have kind of written themselves into a corner either... Yeah, guess what?
I'm just like picturing somebody watching on the couch, and then all of a sudden, a little like face comes out. Nen. Like,
I'm thinking the Kaiba and the Yugi meme where like Kaiba plays a card and then Yugi plays Nen. Oh no!
That's good.
I've lost. But yeah, so I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen wrote themselves in a corner in that they have to innovate or die, right?
Yeah.
Like literally, they have no choice but to innovate because they have used all of the reserves in the shonen tank. They're out. We saw so many tropes be worked on, and I don't know if that's a bad thing for one specific reason, which is Jujutsu Kaisen. They seem extremely self-aware. One scene in particular, when Gojo is teaching Yuji about how to use cursed energy, you remember what Yuji said about what technique he'd get? Oh man, I thought I was going to have like a Rasengan or a Kamehameha or a Spirit Gun.
Yeah.
So he's quoting every fucking thing they know they're reducing against. Okay, you cheeky bitch. You think you're going to come at me like I don't already know what you're emulating, and then you call out the signature techniques of all the things you're emulating? Fuck you and your cheeky attitude. You better come with something hard in season 2 and onward.
I felt like it was pure like comedy play. I didn't necessarily think that they were just like trying to rub it in our face.
They may not have been, but as professionals, professors, analytics,
yes,
we have to analyse these, if you will.
I won't.
Too bad. You're gonna have to, because
absolutely an awful way of saying that word.
Like I said, I know they meant it comedically, but I find it a little bit interesting that they're so blasé about knowing they're playing on all of these tropes so quick and so early. This could turn into a real banger move. A show in the outset, in the prologue, runs through all the things that makes its genre great and just reduces it down to like the obvious applications of these things. But then from that moment they're out of cards and onward, they just bang. They just go. And they might have something on their hands.
This is going to have to be a Bleach situation where it's going to be deeper than surface level.
It has to be,
to
right?
really enjoy it. I think a lot of people don't think very hard or, what would you call it? Very critically about what Bleach is trying to say and what the story really is about.
Sure.
And that's why they don't quite like think of it as, duking it out with the other big three. I think this show is going to be something similar where, hopefully it's not going to be as wild as terms of power where he becomes like everything under the fucking sun. And I think they've set it up to where that's not really a possibility. So that's good.
Yeah, right.
Where there's not like multi-race, stuff going on or, whatever you want to call it. But I think this is going to be a situation where it's going to be related to kind of like losing himself as he gains more fingers that he's eating. Because I think they've kind of already started that, and they've showed also like these packs and stuff that he's doing with Sukuna, whatever the fuck his name is.
Sukuna?
Yeah, Saikuno from Twitch. No, whatever the fuck his name is.
Sukuna.
I actually really hate it.
Sukuna
nuts.
Sukuna nuts.
Sucka nuts.
No, yeah, Sukka nuts, the Demon King, obviously.
But I think that's going to be the interesting part of it, and I think there's obviously some cool stuff going on with like the fact that the Kyoto School's headmaster wants him dead, or that people within this Jujutsu, whatever you call it, organization,
the sorcerer
they're trying to kill him,
right?
But Gojo, who, like, first of all, unbelievably cool character.
Fucking love him. He's so fun. He's
made the first half of this show bearable. In my opinion.
Him and Sukuna, the little bit of screen time that he has, those two for me, chef's kiss, because he is so happy-go-lucky, but his powers. Can we talk about his powers super quick? We're in spoiler territory. I'd love to talk. We're like
50 minutes in.
Fuck yeah, we are.
Rip whatever.
Oh, we got the juice to squeeze, baby. We can get a whole episode out of this. I'm happy about it. But he has.
What'd you expect?
I don't know, just to riff for a while, like about croissant pizza or some shit. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. I see croissant pizza, I instantly react.
I stopped the episode to look at it, but it was gone. I'm a little bitter. That's all I'm saying. So, we're in Spoiler City. If you don't want to be spoiled, please go watch this show. It's beautiful to look at. If you're a shonen schmuck just like us, you will have a good time. This is not like a God of High School where the only thing going for it is the animation, and even that could be a little choppy at times. This will, no matter how critical we're being, will be a fun ride. And this was rated on a lot of people's 2020 tops. I've watched a lot of top lists.
Because they're absolutely stupid.
Jesus, man.
I'm sorry. Half the season didn't even come out yet, and they already put it on their tops.
People were doing the same shit in 2019 with My Hero Academia.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's dumb as fuck.
That's all I'm saying.
You guys, think about this shit critically. You haven't seen the good parts yet. This is why I was so mad about it.
Okay.
Why are you, saying that this is, the best show you've ever fucking seen before you've seen anything good yet?
So you would agree that you can't rate something that high, or at least with that kind of confidence without seeing all of it, right?
At least watch a little bit of the fucking show.
Yeah, do it. But the groundwork is here. Let us not be.
Croissant pizza.
Okay, hold on. We're quick.
Oh! I know, right?
Fuck!
Nice little layers.
Flaky and buttery. Flaky and buttery, baby. I might turn the bass up just for that one when I edit this.
Yeah.
Flaky and buttery. Okay, so they have, in fact, can you at least agree with this statement I'm about to make? They have laid the groundwork.
No. Go ahead.
You're right. I'm going to shut it down. They have laid the groundwork for something good. Case in points. One, Sukuna has said, I think on more than one occasion, once kind of alluding to, you don't really know what curses are, do you? That, to me, coupled with the fact that the Kyoto school master wants to kill Yuji because he sees them as nothing but a vessel for a curse, there's gonna be this motif of a rethinking of this sorcerer world's perception of what quote-unquote a curse is. Reminiscent of the Goti 13 and the unchaining of their centuries of rigidity with Ichigo's entering into the mix, right? He literally stopped the execution of Rukio because of his own power and the reshaping of the rules and the laws of the Goti 13. Again, another allusion to Bleach. I think they've set up the groundwork for
The
Yuji.
Goti 13.
Is that
They're so goaty?
so Goti? Is it Gotai Goti?
I don't know.
Okay,
But I think goatee is a
G-O-T-E-I.
better way of saying it.
The Goti 13, baby.
Goatee as fuck.
Goaty as fuck, baby. Yeah, they've laid the groundwork for Yuji to be the catalyst for breaking their long-standing traditions of perceiving curses as something to be exercised outright. He's going to show them by being a sorcerer an asset to them, I think.
I think they've clearly set it up to do that. The question for me is like, how's that useful? Because I don't think it's going to be like, they already said there was like a 1 in a million shot that he didn't die from eating this cursed object.
And yet he ate 3.
Well, once you've eaten one, you can eat the other ones is basically the point. But what I'm trying to get at is like, how applicable is this going to be to changing the way that Jujutsu Kaisen Jujutsu Tech thinks, you know?
Yeah, and
I think you're absolutely right. This is going to change
how
they think of things.
Right, but what
specifically
path?
I think that guy that can touch souls.
Oh yeah, Stitch Boy.
I don't know what the hell his name was.
Michio or
Like I said.
I don't know. Yeah, Stitchy Boy Supreme.
I think, the way that he was introduced into the story as being like this new type of curse, basically.
Kind of humanoid of all things, right? Yeah.
And like the way that, he was kicking the shit out of Nanami, he was doing all this stuff, but he was like, he was trying to teach people, I don't know if that's really the case, but he was explaining that you can like physically touch souls and make them change however you want.
And the shape of the soul can change the physicality that's wrapping that soul.
Yeah.
Again, they have alluded there to be deeper meaning to curses and souls. And if you want to go even more surface level than that,
Mahito was that guy's name.
Mahito, that's it. Okay. So Mahito did introduce another layer to the concept of curse energies in that souls can be manipulated in a way that could be used from a translation of direct power, of combat power. The other thing, like I said, surface level, there are 20 fingers. That in and of itself gives a certain level of longevity, right? That gives you, do I think that's your Pirate King? Do I think that's your Hokage? No, obviously not, right? Because that can't be your end game, right? 20 fingers? No, there has to be more. That's the initial outset of the first huge objective, right?
I don't know. I really think that might be it.
You think so?
The question is like, what happens once it eats 20?
Hence the question being begged, right? Where do you go from there? If you make that your ceiling,
well, I still think that might be the end point, right? Is like, okay, you have the 20th one, you're gonna die or something, like that.
Well, it could be like a defeat Aizen kind of situation, right? Where it really is a huge overarching. There's like a couple arcs that span the overarching objective in Bleak to defeat Aizen.
I think that's going to be the like end goal.
Right.
I mean, this is all like completely dumb speculation because people probably already know what happens.
They probably do, at least up to the point, to a certain point. They definitely know.
You guys know what we're thinking it might be.
I truly think once, if you want my honest opinion, I thought about this.
Lie to me.
I think there's going to be another opposing vessel. They're going to find another finger or two, the demons. They're going to find an individual that they somehow stumble across that is going to also be as receptive as Yuji. And then there's going to be a fight for how many fingers they can get into each of these vessels, because the demons already consider Yuji this huge asset they're trying to grab and snag, right? Because their two objectives are kill Gojo and get Sukana's vessel. They don't even call him Yuji. Get Sukana's vessel on our side.
Well, they don't know his name, to be fair.
Well, I bet if they did, they'd still call him Sukana's vessel.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Well, because they care about Sukuna, they don't care about him. But I think that's definitely interesting. I think that'd be a cool way to turn this.
It's kind of a fight to power up each other's vessels and then pit them against each other to get the rest for one side, right?
Yeah, and I think, I don't want to think this, but I think I do.
Okay.
That at some point Gujo's gonna die, because that's the only way to really like progress the story majorly if they do get stale at some point or plateaued.
He's the linchpin that is actually this huge guardian figure for the world of the sorcerers against the demons, right? So he does have to die at some point.
I would have loved if he had just started like shredding through Jujutsu Tech, like upper management or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because he did say at one point to one of the underling teachers, he's like, I'm starting to think about maybe just going over there and killing them all. He's like,
yeah, right.
I could do it, but I'm not sure if that's what I want to do.
Didn't he pop into like one of the higher ups' office and he even said like some one line that was really offensive to that one dude, and he's just like, no, we're good, and just bounced out.
Yeah, he said that to the president of the Kyoto school.
That's it. Yeah, he showed up.
Man, he was just like fucking with him to his face, which was great.
And he couldn't do dick about it. It was great. It was so cheeky. I was so in for that.
That is like an absolute shining, whatever you would call it, a shining ray of light for this show. Is I think they do personal interactions pretty well.
They're great. They're really, really enjoyable to watch.
And specifically this big kind of omnibus fight between what should be done with Sukuna's vessel. I think that's been done very well so far.
Yes, some think to kill it and suppress it. Some think to bargain with him and try to get him to make a contract with Sukuna by kind of squeezing him in a really tight situation. Others, like,
Oops, already happened.
Oops, too bad. Yeah, right. And others, like in the Jujutsu Tech, basically say, okay, if we can't beat him, let's have him join us and train him up to be an asset for us. So there's, like, you're right, there's this interplay of what to do with such a powerful, like, in the future, him being a fully fledged vessel of Sukuna could be a real fucking danger. So might as well train him up now. I like Jujutsu Tech's take on it, obviously, because they did it right, in my opinion. Like, let's use him for good, obviously. And he kind of is slapping, as we're seeing in, honestly, what redeemed it for me and probably for you, this Kyoto group battle thing.
Yeah.
Total save. Love this shit. In for it.
Yeah, it's great. And I think it's cool to see the other people in Tokyo's Jujutsu Kaisen or Jujutsu Tech school get like their time in the sun as well. I mean, so far, every single one of them has been a beast, except for, the girl got her shit rocked, but
she got her shit rocked.
She got kind of cheated, to be fair.
A little bit, yep.
I mean, like a little 2-on-1 action, whatever. She was about to win.
Hot.
And well,
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of hot.
It's kind of hot.
No, I don't know. I think the show has a lot of directions it could go. I do question, like, do you need to get all 20 fingers together to resurrect Sukuna? Because if that's the case, then killing him after eating 3 fingers is actually the correct move.
Sure, but I'm curious what the higher-ups of Jujutsu Tech are scheming. Because the plan originally was to kill him after 1 finger.
Well, that was
the plan, right? But the fact...
I think that's a cool mystery to be left.
Right, and the fact that, they haven't found a receptive vessel in forever is kind of this play on, I would say, the trope that Naruto set, where killing a Jinchuriki was always a viable option because there are not a bountiful, but definitely always a handful of viable candidates, right? To take on the being the vessel of a tailed beast, right? The Uzumaki were an entire family that were basically suited for it, and we know they exist in real world with Nagato. So we know in Naruto there's always kind of this backup, right? If you want to basically take away a village's military power, kill the Jinchuriki and deal with it later. Cool.
Well, I mean, the last 3 Kurama hosts were all Uzumakis.
There it is. Exactly.
Mito, then Kushina.
Yep. And then Naruto. And then you have Jujutsu Kaisen, who kind of flipped that on its head. Like, we don't know when the fuck we're ever going to get another one of these people that is so attuned to handling Sukuna's fingers, his curse, all things considered. So killing him is not an option for some, but for others, it's the only option. It's the right option, as you said. It's probably the right move, right?
I liked my favorite part, I think, of this season so far, not including the Kyoto battle, which I think is really elevating and saving, like you said, the show. I think the coolest part for me was the Mahito or whatever his name is, like, physically touched souls.
I love that. Yeah.
And his innate domain touches your like whoever's in the domain, like to the
Auto touch.
touches their like soul.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier in that fight, Sukuna had said, "Don't ever fucking come back in here again, or I'm gonna like rock your shit."
And
he, without realizing it, when he put the innate domain out while Yuji was there, touched Sukuna directly.
Busted in, and he's like,
Sukuna's like, I told you,
thought
mother.
I fucking told you. Slap.
Yep.
Done.
Just knocks the shit out of this guy.
Actual clap back. Like,
and so I'm thinking that's going to be a pretty common like through line through the rest of the show is they're going to use like Sukuna as pretty much like bad demeanor toward other curses for lack of a better phrasing.
I think that is the phrasing. Right. Yeah, that's right.
To their advantage by just like having him like be accidentally basically bumped into and then just be like, all right, fuck him up, you know?
Yeah, right. Controlled exposure.
Yes.
Not letting Yuji let him out all the time, but you know, with enemies that can kind of peer inward under the outer layer, they look inside like, oh, never mind. I'm gonna
oops.
I'm gonna put that one back. And he's like, nope, you fucking thought. Smack.
You already opened the door.
Yep, you already opened the door. Now you're having
looks back, bitch.
Come inside, have some fucking tea. Come into my domain, trample on my. You didn't even take your shoes off, you dick.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so
you track the mud in, you son bitch.
You son bitch. Dare we try to give the first half, or just what we've seen so far, a 100 curses out of 100? Like, what would you put this at now? We will revisit this, obviously, but just from the outset, what do we got?
I think this has probably been like a 83.
Really? I was going to say 75.
That's interesting. How so?
So, I think it was kind of what I said about the thing I noticed with them playing tropes so quick, right? They are in a rush to be with the big boys. I think they're a little bit too rushed right now to be with the big boys, right? It put them in a situation, like I said, they're in a narrative corner. They either have to innovate or they will die. They will become another blase that's animated beautifully and known only for, you want a good fight anime, go watch this one. It's a little better than God of High School. If they fuck this up, I think they played every fucking trope so quick, they need to innovate. And I think they are in a couple areas. The power system creativity is there. The longevity is there. The characters are there outside of our main character. And, you know,
what did you rate God of High School? Do you remember?
I really hope I rated it lower than a 75.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, is I don't think that I'm pretty sure it was closer to 80.
Okay, just in case, I'll give it a 78, but no higher than 78.
Well,
for
I'm
me.
just thinking, like, I think this did a better job than God of High School because God of High School was paced too fast, like way too fast.
Uh-huh.
And this was too slow in the beginning, but has ramped up speed toward like an actually informative story so far.
Okay.
So like I could do like first half, second half so far kind of rating, and it would be probably closer to what you have in the first half, probably like a low 70.
Sure.
But then this, I've like what I'm seeing right now, I'm very, very into.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm like, I've edged closer to the higher 80s, you know what I mean? But I you know what I mean? Like, I don't think this isn't a masterpiece through season 1. And I don't think anyone that's saying that deserves to have a platform.
So for me,
platform though, no,
deplatform the God of High School supporters.
I'm kidding.
So what I'll say is first half is whatever score I gave God of High School plus 2.
Okay.
Second piece of this would elevate it up into the 80s. I think I'm seeing what I need to see in this little bit of the second half. Overall, I'm gonna give it whatever I gave God of High School plus 4.
What can I say? I'm an optimist.
I'm an optimist, but I also forget my rankings. So
I'm an optimist prime.
You're an Optimus Prime. I'm a Negatron. I'm a negative boy.
I love that.
I'm a negative boy.
I love that.
I'm just negative over here. But
I know. I think even with that score, we're still much higher than most people rate anime. I think most people's like median score is like low 60s.
That's the thing, right? I reserve anything under a 40 for worst of weebs, and 40 to like 60 are just like meh, real trash. Like they're trash by any right, but at least I have a through line. It felt like it went into it and everything like that. If it's above 70, we're getting somewhere. We got something. So like I said,
I think I'm gonna be honest. I think the end scene deserves at least the AD.
oh, the first half of season 1's ED of EDs I've seen is like an 89, 90.
I mean,
I fucking love it.
I can't even recognize the song. I'm saying like the visual was cool.
Okay, I'm not gonna go for it, but it's all right.
I think the like actual video for the ED of the second half is like unfucking believable.
It's pretty dope. Yeah, I think
like
the first one's better.
Like taking his fucking vlog.
Yeah, it is cool with the whole like the phone aspect. Yeah,
it's like, ugh.
I still think the first one's better with like it felt hand drawn, painted, and it felt so stylized and like all the. It was so good. And the song's such a fucking bop. I don't know.
I think the second one's interesting because it's like emotional, right? Because he had died essentially at one point.
Yeah,
and
he so kind of is categorized like just making his presence known. Yeah,
I mean, he was done, and so it was cool that he was like really like trying to take advantage of his time with his friends.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that all bullshit? Maybe, but I liked it.
I liked it too. So
I'm an optimist prime.
I'm a Negatron over here. So. But I won't be for long if Jujutsu Kaisen can fucking land it. They have to innovate or die. They have no choice but to nut up or shut up. And I'm hoping for it. I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
All things considered. But, I think we're over an hour. Thanks, y'all, for coming to class. Talking about Jujutsu Kaisen as it is right now. If you want to listen with your earballs and your eyeballs, hi, YouTube gang. I promise I'll do it this week. Our audio last week wasn't great, so I'm kind of timid to put that on YouTube. But all that considered,
fuck it.
Should I just do it?
Of course.
Okay, fine.
Nobody cares except for you.
I'm sorry. I feel a perfectionist to myself.
Yeah.
But this one will definitely be on there.
That's a problem.
It's too bad. I'll never work on it. I will. I promise. But if you want to listen with just your earballs with the highest fidelity audio possible, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everything in between, everywhere you get your podcasts fix. Give us a 5-star on Apple or a written review. Please, actually both. I don't know why I used or. Do them both while you're there. Might as well. It helps us pop up on other people's recommended so they get all the anime goodness. Hit us up on Instagram at weebology.podcast. We got memes on news and sometimes giveaways. We got shit for no memes lately, but too bad. We'll post them when we do because our lives are fucking insane right now.
Look, y'all.
Yeah, literally insane right now. But we have a backlog of memes that we'll, I don't know, maybe post if you're good little students.
I'm trying, okay?
That was condescending, but at the same time, whatever.
We've got a lot going on, all right? Our time is like 100%, whatever you call it, like allotted.
Yeah.
We are over-allotted at the moment.
I am over-encumbered with shit to do with my time.
It's like a video game. I've got 170 pounds in my
I'm over-encumbered. I can't run from enemies. I can't fast travel. I can't meme. Fuck. Fuck. But at least you can hit us up on Twitter at WeebologyP. We post there less than we do Instagram. That's not saying much. But if you want to give us a show we should watch to be in our viewer suggested list, just say hi, give us a little love, or, a little bit of hate. Even if you do, I'm here for it. We're transparent boys.
We'll talk to you about it.
We'll talk to you about it. Hit us up on email, weebologypodcast@gmail.com, just for that old school email vibes to get right into our inbox. If you want to give us some monetary love, only if you can, patreon.com/weebology. $1 and up gets you into our Discord with all of our past guests, and that number is rising steadily with every week. $3 and up gets you into our side content, the syllabus sidebar, our lo-fi, high vibes, sometimes anime, sometimes not, podcast kind of thing. I'm going to call it a podcast now. It's a Patreon podcast at this point. We have our own.
We got long eps over there, and we've got like a lot of them.
We have our own segments that go on over there.
Yeah,
work court about shit going on at work.
On.
Maybe next time we'll do The Price is Wrong,
bitch.
Or we'll take weird, esoteric, most expensive. How much does this shit cost? And we try to guess.
Yeah,
and usually the price is wrong. But
I would say almost 100% of the time.
Ethan's got a pretty good handle on it. You've gotten pretty close, if
I
not
buy
on the
random
money.
Shit, so that helps.
Honestly, that is true.
But I just wanted to say also, go check out our guest appearance over on our Friendos podcast, Lords of Dorktown.
Mm-hmm.
We recently did a Fire Force season 1 and 2 kind of wrap up with him over there, which we haven't done on this show of season 2. So if you wanted to go check that out and get all of our thoughts kind of beamed into your brain, check them out anywhere that you can get podcasts.
Yeah, they're a really good podcast over there. They also have an end segment. I think it's like Moldy Cheese or something like that, where we watch these very weird cartoons from our early days of life. Literally, when we were children, the one we reviewed were was it Little Elvis and the Truck Stoppers?
Yeah,
Elvis Jones and the Truck Stoppers. Man, that shit was wild. It was an Australian-made cartoon from the 90s, and it was the most most talked about cartoon from that era. All the people know it. And if you want to find out why, despite it being an actual dumpster fire, go check out Lords of Dorktown. Came out. So
there you go.
If that's everything, I think that's it.
Yeah, if it's not, whatever.
Yeah, I know. Until we find out what to talk about next week, because we're still kind of foggy on that.
Deuces.
I'm Ricky.
And I'm Ethan.
And this has been Weebology.
Deuces.
What the fuck were you talking about?
They'll
They'll find out next week.